this video I wanted to go over uniform selection, and in front of you I have a good selection of things that are kind of common or something that's easy to find. Up at the top left here I have a British DPM Pattern 95. This is a lightweight combat jacket as they call it, but it's pretty thin. I've done a review on this and it's actually a pretty good piece of gear, but it is made of materially, we're going to be going in order like this way and then this way, so in terms of durability and such, but this is made of a 100% cotton twill. Now a cotton twill is, you're not going to get any ripstop in that, you're not going to really get any help with tears, but twill can be pretty hard and it can help prevent abrasion. They're just wound so tight that they are supposedly, it's better than a weave. A lot of thin strands that are just woven together really tight. When you have twill, it's a bunch of strands that are spun together really tight and then they make their own weave, I guess you could say. But it's going to be a little more abrasion resistant and scuff resistant, but it still does scuff pretty easily, and it can tear pretty easily in comparison to other things. But it's very lightweight, and you know, it's kind of stain resistant, but being cotton, it stains pretty easily, and it does fade relatively easy, and with abrasion and stuff like that, it'll accelerate the process of the fraying and stuff like that. So the next one here, I have Tiger Stripes Products Originals Tiger Stripe True Spec BDU, and this one I've done a small review on it, and I intend to do a more in-depth review. If you want more details on these two uniforms, then go to my blog at doitright.org. I'll link that down in the description below. But basically, that is 100% cotton ripstop. So that's also what you'd see in the hot weather climate for our standard BDU in the U.S. military. What the BDU was with Woodland, the hot weather, I guess you could say. So it's kind of second to the British DPM lightweight combat jacket, because the ripstop, I think, holds the cotton together a lot better as far as like preventing stretching. However, I don't really see that the ripstop really prevents tears as well as, you know, it's supposed to. It resists it, but it doesn't really prevent it that much. So anyways, this one is actually faded a good amount. I'm going to be doing a review on it, but it does fade pretty easily, and I think the ripstop can kind of pronounce that more, because you can see the ripstop pattern in it. If you see it up close, you can see the ripstop pattern in it, and it just kind of helps it look more faded a lot faster. So anyways, that's that for 100% cotton ripstop. It's pretty much like the British shirt. It scuffs and frays pretty easily, actually, and it's supposed to be stain resistant, but not really, and you kind of fade it out once you start washing it and trying to get those stains out. So it's not really the best material for holding up a pattern, but it breathes easy. It's good for temperate climate, but with scuffing and stuff on gear and, you know, wearing it a lot, sweating in it, getting it wet and stuff, it's going to fade out over time. So, and it might not take all that much time if you're actually being serious about it. For those serious airsofters that actually get out there and run around, get all sweaty and stuff, play in the rain or whatever, yeah, this might not be the best thing for you, but it's a pretty badass pattern. So anyways, moving on. This is an old BDU. This is a 50-50 NICO, so nylon and cotton. So this pattern is, you know, obviously the old M81 Woodland, and this is more for temperate climates, a little colder climates. It's actually a pretty thick material. It's not really that bad on as far as breathing, and nylon cotton, the NICO mixture is actually praised for being one of the best of both worlds, for being cheap, for basically giving you a good amount of durability. It's lightweight, and it holds up really well. This has no ripstop in it. It's the old style colder temperature BDU, and the BDU design is what it is, and we'll get to that in a bit. But it does fade. It is a good twill, so it takes a bit to fade it out. But you can see that if you see this up close, it is faded out a bit. But it's a pretty heavy duty material. I wouldn't say that it would be really good in the wintertime, like when it's actually like 20-30 degrees. But when it starts getting a little chilly, 40-50 degrees, it's not bad. It'll keep you warm, but put your gear on and you'll be toasty. So, it's a pretty good material to have, not the best, but I believe you can still find these for relatively cheap. So, it might be an option for you. But overall, it's a lot better than these two as far as like durability is concerned, scuff, stains, all that other good stuff. But not really all around the best. So, next is the Nyko ripstop. So it's basically the same material as that, 50/50 Nyko with ripstop in it. So this is made by TrueSpec. This is their TRU, Tactical Response Uniform. So this has got obviously the M81 Woodland. Now if you look at this one and you look at this one, you can see that one is much more faded out than this. TrueSpec does a pretty good job of getting the patterns really close or right on. But this is one of my favorite ones, but it's not perfect as far as like being scuff resistant and fade resistant, but I'm really impressed with how well this is held up. However, in the green on the front, where my gear has been rubbing and stuff, I'm starting to see the ripstop being more pronounced in this area right here. So, I've still got to do a review on this set right here because I have the blouse and trousers. So I got to do a review on that set, so we'll look forward to that in the future. But overall, pretty durable, pretty good materials to use. So the next thing up is my old Marpat uniforms. So these are both 50/50 Nyko, and they have no ripstop. It's just a heavy-duty twill, kind of like this. Kind of interesting that this was for temperate climates in both of these, my deserts and my woodlands. They're like the same thickness, but they're the same material, and one's for woodland, one's for desert. Yeah, it is kind of the best of both worlds because it doesn't really get too hot, but it doesn't get too cold. But in the fleet, we'd have times where we'd roll our sleeves up. I didn't really see that as really keeping me cool. Kind of prevented me from opening up my sleeves and my cuffs and ventilating. But I do like that the material actually did pretty good. It doesn't seem like this material, this construction, is as thick as that one. It felt like this is a little lighter weight, maybe a little bit thinner, but not by much. So, it's basically the same material, but the construction and use of it is a little bit different. So it's a heavy-duty twill. It doesn't really wear that easily, but I do have some scuffs and scrapes on this one. At least my woodland blouse that I'll go ahead and show here. So if we go on the back side here, I actually have a pretty good amount of damage right here. So this is where when I was launching a rocket, a good amount of stuff came up and knocked me in the back side, and yeah, so it does tear, and it kind of resists the tear a little bit, but maybe with a little bit of ripstop it would actually do a little better. But I think it's held up pretty well. I mean, it didn't fade out all that much, but it's pretty good to go. I like that gear, or I like this uniform. It did pretty well for me. But anyways, that's that. So next one is the TrueSpec, basically the TRU. It is in a 65-35 poly cotton. So we're moving into the polyester area. So basically with I'll go ahead and move this over, but basically with the poly cotton, this is supposed to be the most durable that you can really get. I would say yes, but I would risk saying it's almost a little too thick. I would say that, or a little too stiff, because I think that it needs a little bit of room to flex to prevent causing extra stress to the seams. Now, the seams are what hold everything together, right? Well, yes, it works very good in cold climates and stuff. I like it. It's almost wind resistant and almost water repellent. I mean, you've got a polycotton ripstop material here, and the ripstop just reinforces it, preventing it from stretching and tearing and all that other stuff. But it just resists tearing, as I've said. But it's almost a little too strong for its own good, and the breathability on it absolutely sucks. I'll just say that right now. It doesn't really breathe that well. It keeps everything inside, but maybe you actually want that. Maybe it's, fall or spring. Temperatures aren't really that great here in Alaska around those times, so it might actually work out pretty well, but it's still a bit green and brown. So, that actually might be an option for you. So, just keep that in mind. Now we're going to go over some characteristics of a uniform that you might want to take into consideration. Okay, so due to the popularity, around the world and the availability that we have of it, almost everybody makes a BDU style of something, right? So BDUs, they were basically supposed to be an improvement over a lot of things, and a lot of things that came in the past, and they kind of are. But there's some things that are advertised on BDUs that just really aren't something that I would even bring up. It's not like it really gives you that much of an advantage. Now, little things like that, I would say, are things like the reinforced elbows. Unless they're actually something where I can insert things, yes, it is reinforced, but you can't insert anything in here, and you get raw elbows. You also, in the legs, they talk about how the knees are reinforced, and they are, but you can't insert anything in it, so it's just a hollow area that's, taking up space. So it does prevent tearing in that area, or it really gives it an area to tear first before exposing your leg, but, whatever. But some other things is like drain holes on the pockets or whatever. That's just really kind of a passive thing, and the lower pocket doesn't really even expand out that much on these ones, which is, it is what it is. But things like this waist adjustment here, I haven't noticed that they stay all that well. As gear is moving around, it kind of loosens up pretty easily, so I just use a belt. But that's just me. Also, with when you're looking at old school, I guess you could say old school BDUs, yes, you get these 4 pockets, but realistically, unless you were using like old Alice gear, like the old LC2 gear, the old load-bearing equipment, it's pretty much useless to have all 4 pockets, or unless you're a garrison rat. I don't really see the point in it, personally. The BDU style has its place. However, I think these pockets are a waste, and when you tuck in your shirt, these flaps can be kind of annoying, just from my experience. These areas, not too bad. I'm fine with them, but, other than that, I don't need a little pinhole here or whatever. Yeah, there's no real reason to have a pinhole on a battle uniform. I do like that, these cargo pockets have a good amount of room in them, but here's the problem with these cargo pockets on BDUs. They are right next to your kneecap. So if you were to carry anything serious in here, or anything metallic, I guess you could say, you're going to have that clinking up against your knee, and it's going to hurt. Trust me, it really does. But you don't have any shoulder pockets. As far as like reinforcement on the back, you can actually tear these shoulders. I think one thing where they fell short was when they were putting these things together, they didn't really separate out these areas. I think that the elbow should have actually been reinforced all the way down. On my recent review with the DPM combat jacket, the the elbow has its own area. It's kind of small, but it's separated out so you have double seams protecting that area if it were to stretch out. And also the TRUs have that where, like, if you're to stretch forward, it has a little area that a little extra material and extra seams that'll help with that flex. Another thing, another common area of wear on these is here in the crotch. So it does not have a gusseted crotch. One of the hard lessons that we have learned after using this material over the years is that you want to have a gusseted crotch, and this does not have it. Yes, it has like a triangular stitch right in here, but it's really not all that great, and it doesn't really hold up all that well. So you can get a tear right here in the crotch or up on the butt. Yes, the butt is reinforced, or the seat as they call it in this area, but it's not really reinforced in a manner that is actually going to prevent, you know, this area opening up. These seams are very susceptible to getting torn. And also, on these cargo pockets, these areas can snag and they can get cut open or torn open pretty easily, the seams that is. So another thing that I'm not really too much of a fan of on this design, but overall the BDU isn't that bad. It's a pretty basic design in my opinion, but it's not, you know, worn out. It's not useless or anything, but I think that you could do better. But if money's tight and you can buy a few of them, it's pretty good. And if you're not really going to be all too serious about it, no big deal. But, you know, one thing that I think would actually add to the durability is, hell, triple stitch these things. Okay, next up is looking at something like the TRU, or something that you kind of see in the ACU pattern, the Army Combat Uniform. So this system is actually pretty good, I guess, depending on the construction and who's making it, but it's not all really that great. There's some fundamental flaws, I feel. Number one, there's a huge lack of buttons on this, and I like buttons. I think that, well, number one, a lot of people like them because they're quiet, and here's the thing, buttons aren't really going to wear out or whatever. It's not really going to wear like Velcro. I really just do not like Velcro. It's annoying as hell to get these things open, and, you know, for the most part, Velcro in these areas I can understand, like for the elbow areas and the knee areas. Of course, in this pattern or in this design, you actually do have knee and elbow pad insert areas, which I really appreciate, because I do use them, and I don't want my knees getting all chewed up. That's just not really that fun. However, we do have a button fly here, which I do appreciate, and we do have, you know, we have these Velcro cargo pockets, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. They should be buttoned, in my opinion. It's just way too much Velcro crap. I mean, I just got done washing these things, and the Velcro was just everywhere. They were just stuck to each other. It was just a ridiculous mess. These shoulder pockets, there was a good sized Velcro patch on this, and I took this off right when I got the uniform. There was just too much of Velcro on it. It just threw off the pattern's ability to camouflage, in my opinion. And things like this, the cuffs, I think they would have been better served if they would have just done buttons on the cuffs. And also, here's the other thing. You got zippers. A lot of people like the idea that they got zippers. They feel that it's more secure. And the way TrueSpec makes their zippers, I do believe that it is more secure. It's a nice double stitch. It would be more secure if it was a triple stitch, I feel. But, you know, overall, it's actually a pretty strong zipper, so I do appreciate that. However, yeah, I'm not really too much of a fan of zippers. If you're going to do a zipper, then do zipper and buttons, right? Because I just really don't like all the Velcro on it. I don't know how many times I'm going to say this, or say that, but I have a love-hate relationship with this collar type. I think it's kind of an odd setup. However, this does kind of protect you from brass. So, it is a pretty good, upgrade. TrueSpec makes this TRU pretty well. This whole pocket is reinforced for like knives or any attachments. I like that they have ankle pockets. I first fell in love with ankle pockets when I was wearing my frog suit on my deployments. I think they're pretty useful. Now, they had ties in the ankles, and they have a waist tie. I took the ankle ties out. I've just left this around in case, I might want them. But I've never really found a use for them. That's what a belt is for, really. So I'm not really too much of a fan of everything on this. I use what I can, and the rest is just, it's just there. Now, these ankle pockets, I think this was it's kind of useless unless all you're wearing is your LBV or something like that. Getting to it is loud and obnoxious, and it really just doesn't have that much room. And as far as arm pockets, sleeve pockets and stuff, I mean, yeah, you've got these up here, and you also got an area for pins. I think that is just screaming admin. It's kind of annoying to see that, personally, but, it is what it is. If you need to use it, then use it, but if not, it's just going to get in your way. And as far as these arm pockets, I would personally, not use these, and that's why I don't have any Velcro on him. I don't see any point in keeping it around. So, when you have stuff in your arms, like, I was in the Marine Corps, so our uniforms, we had arm or sleeve pockets or whatever, and that was great when you had body armor on, if you had to carry little things here and there, but for the most part, I didn't use it except for maybe cigarettes, but even then, it was kind of annoying to have something on your sleeve and just moving around up there, because it will. So, that's a consideration. The next thing is, it's supposed to be an upgrade from the BDU, however, they haven't changed the fact that all they did is they reinforced the seat, and they did not put in a gusseted crotch. So there's no gusseted crotch, it's just the same old reinforced seat, and I don't really see an improvement on that, because that's a heavy wear area, especially if you're humping a lot and you're getting swamp ass. That's going right into the crotch area, and that's where a lot of strain is. And if you're going to be making this, I would just say triple stitch it. If you're wanting something, then I would look for something that's triple stitched. But other than that, the TRUs are actually pretty nice. Like I was saying with the Tiger Stripe before, you got this extra panel here that kind of flexes out and helps, if you're bending forward, it takes the strain off this split area and in the shoulders. So I do like that a good amount, but I mean, there's a good amount to love and there's a good amount to hate on this, and from my experience with uniforms here and there. So anyways, that's pretty much it as far as that kind of selection goes. Now I'm going to kind of stick straight to the pant, because up here you can kind of deal with whatever top. They're not going to really wear all that much. The biggest area where you're going to get blowouts, as they call them, or real maintenance issues, is probably going to be in the pants. So let me go ahead and bring up a pair of pants that I actually have fallen in love with. Though it's not quite available anymore, this is the First Tactical Specialist Tactical Pant. Now, this I feel is exactly what you would want in something that's camouflage, and in a lot of areas, like even here in the summertime, this color would actually do it. OD or something, a green of pretty much any kind would actually be very good camouflage for you, because it's just so green around here. So some of the features of this is you got some pretty deep pockets here. I mean, it's going up like halfway up my arm, so it goes down to here. It's pretty deep. And you also have these pockets here. These fit AR magazine pouches, and they go down to about, it goes down quite a ways, so you can submerge a whole AR mag and with very little sticking out. So that's pretty nice. The belt loops are very well sewn on, and it's just, it's a pretty durable construction. And one of the things I like is the inserts for the legs are very big. The reinforced knees are very big, and the insert is on the inside, but it's a very generous area, and it's not really square. It's actually, you know, pretty snag proof. It's basically added on the inside, so you have nothing really snagging. And on these cargo pockets, it's, you know, the seam is on the inside, so it's reversed. So if you have anything snagging against it, it would have to go from the inside out instead of, you know, when you're passing by, it'll just go over it. It's really nice. And on the inside of the pockets, yes, you do have Velcro, but you have like a lanyard loop for dummy cording things. And these little organizers right here, they hold AR mags. And I've held, you know, I've done classes with just these pants on, holding AR mags, and it's pretty easy to do. It holds it pretty well. And not everything has Velcro on these pants. Like if you go to the back pockets here, it's just open, and it's pretty nice. You get a generous amount of room in here. But this is like my favorite EDC pant, and yes, I'm getting it dirty, but it's pretty stain resistant. And I don't know, I'm just really in love with these pants. But for the most part, there's not really much I would complain about on these pants. One of the biggest things that I fell in love with was, and that kind of turned me towards this design where you want a gusseted crotch, was this has a gusseted crotch. I actually felt how durable this was, where you have a strand that goes along the legs instead of across them. But it does go across under, and it does go, it doesn't really go across, it's its own little strip going along, and this has ripstop in it. But this ripstop is incredibly small, and there's a lot of it. So you've got you got some flex, but the ripstop does prevent it a bit. So, you know, it holds up really well, and it doesn't stain very easily. I mean, all this stuff just wipes right off, and it's really nice. It's really nice to have pants that are actually so well made and that I can wear like every day. You got a button-up closure. It's a pretty tight button. You got a good zipper on here, and also you got a reinforced button. So these pants are pretty thick. They're pretty stiff right from the get-go, but they're incredibly durable. And I can't really praise them enough on how well the material holds up and how well the construction is, because I think that a lot of companies can learn from First Tactical on how they're making their gear for first responders. Everything is just held up pretty well, and they have great customer service, and I like that they field test their stuff. But anyways, I mean, I would say that this would actually be a pretty good uniform option as far as pants go, and then just use whatever camouflage top, because in my opinion, tops are, it's kind of something you could just do whatever with. You could wear like the OD or Coyote, and then use like a Marpat top, or an M81 or a DPM or whatever, Flectarn or something like that, or maybe 3-color Desert, whatever you want to wear. And that's how you could roll. It would be pretty simple. So anyways, that's just a little overview of my assessment on materials and construction of uniforms, and some things you want to look for. I would look for things like gusseted crotches, stuff like that. If you can get away with it, you probably want a 50/50 Nyko ripstop. In my opinion, that's probably the best way to go for, you know, basically getting the best of both worlds. It's pretty well insulating, but at the same time it breathes really well. And make sure that you don't have a ridiculous amount of pockets on your blouse or your top. That's my recommendation. And if you do have pockets, make sure they're functional. And I don't really recommend sleeve pockets, but if you're going to get pants, make sure that they have inserts and that you get knee inserts, knee pad inserts. But other than that, I'd appreciate if you guys left comments. Go ahead and leave them down below, and whatever your recommendations are. If you just like to keep it to BDUs because that's what you know and love, that's fine. But Go ahead and leave a comment, subscribe, like, and check out my blog at doitright.org for more information. Alright, thanks a lot for watching.